Hello and welcome to Scott Bryson Beyond the Service. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to jump in tonight and just tell another short story about some of my time many moons ago, back when I was on the counter assault team. One one story in particular that has always kind of been a favorite of mine that I've talked about a little bit, but not a great deal, is when I was assigned to protect Jenna Bush. So back in the day, George W. Bush had two daughters, Jenna and Barbara. I remember a time when I went down to Panama. So Jenna Bush was working for UNICEF. I think I have that right. And she was doing some projects around the world. And I'm pretty sure I told the story about, well, I don't know if I told the story, but I talked in one of my interviews with Vim Miller. I guess I was actually on his podcast. Sorry, this stuff's kind of running together. I told a story about one of the scariest places I had ever been. And of course, the scariest place I think I've ever been was Afghanistan. I've been to Afghanistan twice. And then this one time, when I was probably the most fearful for my life was in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, which is kind of weird that you would think Jamaica over Afghanistan. But in Afghanistan, I was with all my guys and a SEAL team and all these other assets. It was really good. But when you get a little further away from the Oval Office, the assets sort of dwindle. I was with Jenna, and we'd gone down into like the shanty town type place, and of course she had the working shift and stuff with her, but it was just me and one other guy. So it was like sometimes you do things in a team environment, and then sometimes it's more like a small element. And so there was just two of us, and we had a counterpart, but we went down in this shanty town, which is basically just it was a bunch of gang stuff, and there were, drug lords and all this different things, a lot of turf fighting and stuff. And we went down there in this small motorcade, and they said the only reason we didn't get shot at or shot up is because a bunch of white faces were in the car. So that was scary. And I remember being I got out of the car, which normally when you're working counter assault type stuff, you're kind of out of the way, ready to sort of spring into action or whatever if you need to, because the shift's going to cover and evacuate, and then you're going to go fight and address the problem. But we were out of the cars. We weren't wasting any time. I thought, well, if I get myself shot up, I'm going to get shot up in a gunfight, not sitting in my car. So, the weird thing was, it was really dark and really just hard to see. A lot of shadows, a lot of shoulder weapons. Pretty much everybody down there had some type of AK or a machete or something like that. It was a little sketchy, and they were down there. She was doing a show with Diane Sawyer. I think it was called, I forget what it was called, but Diane Sawyer something. And it was on ABC, and so they were filming this thing, and we tried to tell them it was a bad idea, but they didn't listen, so they went and did it anyway. And I'll never forget Jenna Bush getting out of the car and sitting. She was trying to talk to the kids and be brave and not show that she was scared, but we were all sort of scared, right? Her eyes were about that big. I mean, the look on that girl's face was like, holy cow, we've bit off a little bit more than we can chew. So that we didn't stay too long down there. We kind of got out of Dodge rather quickly. I'd say we were down there maybe 10 minutes. I don't really remember, but we weren't there long, 10 or 15 minutes. And that was a little shady. So that's some people have asked me what's the scaredest I've ever been. That's the scaredest. When I say scaredest, I mean like thought I might get into a gunfight or maybe just get shot up and not really ever have a chance to do much. So that was, numbers are a problem, a lot of times numbers are a problem. The environment's a problem. I felt very confident in my skill sets and the guy that I was with, but when you're outnumbered and outgunned, it could be a problem. Especially when we have to follow certain rules of engagement type of thing. That's not what the Secret Service calls it, but that's, military guys know what I'm talking about. There's rules of engagement. We have a higher standard to follow. We have a standard. The bad guys don't have a standard. They do what they want when they want. And it's more reactionary. And we all know that reactions are slower than actions, right? So kind of behind the eight ball, and that was a little spooky, running around down there with her. That same trip, we had been out working. She'd gone to some markets or something during the day. I can't remember. She was out, I think, just walking around doing some shopping and stuff. And I remember the shift kind of being across the street with her because we're kind of, like I said, off the X, so to speak, sort of, so you could react a little better. And there were guys out there with machete. I mean, it's just, I don't know if you've ever spent any time overseas. I went to Jamaica on my honeymoon. There are nice places in Jamaica, but most of it, it's kind of a third world country. It is what it is, and so it's just very Wild West ish, so to speak. And there are just a lot of things going on out there. And I'll never forget watching her walk, and there was guys with machetes, and they listen, they were fine. It turns out they were fine, but at the time when you don't know what you don't know, your spidey senses are up, right? And I can remember being across the street, thinking, well, if something happens, I will definitely be able to shoot these dudes. The problem is they're gonna get in at least one whack on her, and that's weird to say out loud, but that's the thought process that I was having. Because, like I said, she was walking around and they were cutting up coconuts and different things, and I can remember my buddy John that I was with thinking, man, hopefully they don't whack her, and hopefully we don't have to shoot them. But if they go to hitting on her, they're probably going to get at least one whack in before I can get the drop on them. Hopefully it's not a fatal wound. That's the mindset that I had, and I know that's bizarre. It felt bizarre, but you feel helpless because you're a little bit far removed. We had shoulder weapons. We all had M4s. So I felt good with my weapon system, but I wasn't working the shift. I was in a support role. So it's a little different when you're there to help, and you're going to help and you're going to do your job, but you're not the decision maker. It gets gray. So we've talked about black and white before. Some things are black and white. Some things are gray. 2 plus 2 will never be 5. That's a black and white topic. But when you're doing protection, trying to keep somebody alive, but you're not making the decisions on where we go and how we go, it can get a little dicey. So that trip was pretty memorable because I remember being out there on the street with her, thinking, man, this is a little sketchy in the daylight, much less at night, which we just talked about. So we went down to that shantytown and things got a lot more dicey. So anyway, I have some good memories of running around the world with Jenna and Barbara. Spent a month, I think it was with Barbara. Yeah, it was Barbara in South Africa, which was a cool experience. 30 days away from home is a long time. Not to the military folks, I know it's not, but you're usually taking 2 or 3 day trips or a week or 2 week trip, and then you're gone for 30 some days. It's a long time, especially that far away. And I remember that being a really good trip. And I remember having some downtime because we were work kind of like, sometimes we'd work we call it long day off day. So there's shifts. As long as the people are covered, it doesn't matter, right? So it's 24 hours, 365. So let's say if I was on days and you were on afternoons, well, I would agree to work a double shift so you could have a day off and I could have a day off, because like working 30 straight days of one shift or having a shift rotation is just, it's kind of hard to do in the field. So, excuse me, sometimes we would do like a long day off day, and you'd have to get everybody to buy into it. So like you'd work a 16-hour day, but then you'd have a day off. And so this one day we had some time down, and this buddy of mine, and that I was working with, again, another 2-man element, we went hiking, and we hiked up Table Mountain, and that was cool. The problem was we kind of got off track. We didn't want to do the easy way, but we didn't want to go the really, really hard way because they have black mambas down there, and if you get bitten by one of them, you're dead within like a minute or whatever. So you're going to die pretty quickly. So we were kind of trying to find that happy medium, be a little bit adventurous but not too crazy. We ended up getting off the doggone trail and got on some type of goat path or something. And I don't know, man. It wasn't a hard hike, but it was strenuous. And we got to the top and looked back. It's like, holy cow, I can't believe we just did that. But because a tourist, like a week or 2 before that, had gotten bitten up there, and she did not make it. So I wasn't scared during the moment of doing it. It was fun and whatever. But when you got up to the top and you realize, oh gosh, I just went through some territory that was pretty dangerous, kind of made me feel sick on my stomach. But we made it. So that's where I learned to drink a little bit of red wine and become a steak snob. So really good red meat down there, and it's always fun to bring some of those things home. I was able to perhaps bring some bottles of red wine home for my better half. It's just amazing country down there, and it was a good experience.